Welcome to a Wayne County Bicentennial Minute in celebration of Wayne County, New York's unique history, which spans 200 years and is historic to the core.
The Quakers of Wayne County, narrated by Lorene Jorgensen. The Quakers, also known as Friends or Religious Society of Friends, played a major part in the settlement of the area now known as Wayne County. They were early settlers moving to New York in groups. They were thrifty and industrious. They were farmers and businessmen, building the first grist mills and sawmill in Wayne County. In 1800, they built a meeting house in Macedon Center, and in 1819, they were set up to worship on their own. In 1811, Increase A. Latham was born to Quaker parents in Macedon. His father, Seneca, was a contractor working on the Erie Canal. Latham wrote the first of 44 important papers for the American Journal of Science at age 16. He arrived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin about 1840 to work on canals and continued his habit of making formal observations of weather. In 1870, Latham was appointed head of the Great Lakes Storm Warning Service in Chicago, forming the first National Weather Service. The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 wiped out many of his records. He continued making his weather observations as chief geologist for Wisconsin until he died in 1875. In 1800, in Marengo, town of Galen, Quaker Laomi Beadle built the first gristmill, sawmill, and planted an orchard. In 1813, the Quaker Meeting House was approved for worship as the Galen Preparative Meeting House. One prominent Quaker, Joel Thorne, a farmer, town supervisor, and contractor, built the Montezuma Turnpike from Seneca River to Lyons. The Thornes have continued farming in the Marengo area and are owners of a Century Farm, 137 years and counting. The Palmyra Quakers began meeting in people's homes about 1808. They were approved for worship in the homes of Ann Durfee and Peter Harris in 1812 until building their own meeting house on Warner Road. One prominent member of this meeting house was merchant, abolitionist, and early leader in the cause of women's rights, Pliny Sexton. He came to Palmyra and opened the first silversmith shop in 1819. He was a fire warden, a school trustee, a banker, and a Palmyra benefactor. His house on Main Street, now a law office, was a stop on the Underground Railroad. He served as a delegate to the first New York City Women's Rights Convention and was named to their governing board. The Palmyra Meeting House hosted the Williamson Quakers until that group built its own meeting house and was approved for worship in 1826. The most famous of the Williamson Quakers was Griffith Cooper, who, despite being a Quaker, enlisted in the Navy in 1812, serving on the Great Lakes. After his discharge in 1817, he was successfully reinstated into the Quaker religion. In 1824, he purchased land in the southern part of Williamson near Pearsall Road and settled down to be a farmer and raise a family with his wife, Eliza. During the 1830s and 40s, he worked as a Quaker to improve relations with New York's Indian nations, supervising the education of all Seneca Indian children. He built a large house just south of the current high school for his family in 1838. At the back of the house, there was a low roof giving access to the main roof, which had a trap door in it. When runaway slaves stayed at the Cooper station, the family never saw them, and Griffith Cooper, a Quaker who did not lie, could truthfully say he had never seen any runaway slaves. Alas, there are no more meeting houses in Wayne County.
When tyrants tremble in their fear and hear their dead knell ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep